All right, let's dive right into this explainer and see if we can solve a very modern mystery. We're going to figure out exactly why we constantly forget what we were just about to do right after looking at our phones. We have absolutely all been there, and today we're unpacking some truly fascinating new research that explains the exact cognitive mechanics behind this everyday phenomenon.
Seriously, picture this. You're working away on your computer, and you suddenly realize you need to send a super important email. But first, you decide to just quickly check your phone for a 5-minute brain break. Fast forward 5 minutes, you put the phone down, and that intention to send the email is completely gone. Poof, literally vanished into the ether. You're just left sitting there with this incredibly frustrating brain fog, staring blankly at your screen, trying to remember what on earth you were supposed to be doing. Well, you definitely aren't alone. And as it turns out, this isn't just some personal failing. It is a highly specific, measurable cognitive glitch.
Section 1. Meet your perspective memory.
So to really understand what is being wiped from our minds here, we have to look at a crucial brain function that acts as the primary victim in our little cognitive mystery. It's called perspective memory, or PM for short. Essentially, PM is your ability to remember to perform a previously planned action at a precise moment in the future, all while you are busy doing something entirely different. Think of your brain sort of like a computer's RAM holding onto a mental sticky note. It's a literal mental buffer that stores our future intentions quietly in the background while our active focus is locked on the present moment. It's exactly what lets you remember to take your medication right after breakfast, or to attach that specific PDF to the email you're currently typing out.
Section 2. The social media experiment.
Now, to find out exactly what breaks this mental buffer, researchers at LMU Munich presented a pretty brilliant cognitive lineup at the CHI23 conference. They brought in 60 participants and had them perform 2 simultaneous tasks. The goal was to perfectly simulate that real-world feeling of juggling an ongoing activity with a planned background intention. The primary task was a lexical decision task, or LD. Basically, words just flashed on a screen and participants had to press a button to say whether it was a real valid word or a fake word. Simple enough, right? But layered right on top of this was a prospective memory task. Participants were given a special instruction. If you ever happen to see a specific color word pop up, ignore the normal rules and press a special key instead.
This illustrates the exact setup perfectly. The participants are cruising along, analyzing random German words like Planeten and Million. But their mental buffer is desperately holding on to that sticky note. Hey, watch out for color words. If they suddenly saw the word blau in the middle of their primary task, they had to successfully recall that background intention and hit the special key. It requires them to completely maintain their focus on the present task while actively monitoring for a future cue. It's a lot to juggle. So the participants are successfully juggling these 2 tasks. But halfway through the experiment, the researchers threw a wrench in the gears and introduced our interruption suspect lineup. Participants took a 10-minute break and they were assigned to one of 4 conditions. They were either doing absolutely nothing and just resting, scrolling through their own text-heavy Twitter feed, watching a single 10-minute YouTube video of their choice, or swiping through their own TikTok feed. After those 10 minutes were up, boom, they were thrown right back into the dual task testing.
Section 3. TikTok takes a toll.
Let's look directly at what happened next. Guide your eye to the charts on the bottom right. These show the reaction time distributions. The blue lines represent correct responses, and those little red lines at the bottom represent errors. Now look closely at the post-interruption row at the bottom, specifically for TikTok, over on the far right. Do you see that absolutely massive spike in the red error distribution? That spike is entirely 100% exclusive to the TikTok group. And just to put a hard number on that visual, the error rate for the perspective memory task in the TikTok group spiked to nearly 51%. Let that sink in for a second. Half the time, after just 10 minutes of scrolling, those participants completely failed to execute their pre-planned intention. Meanwhile, the rest, Twitter and YouTube groups, they experienced absolutely no significant negative impact on their performance. Their mental sticky notes were still perfectly intact.
Section 4. The cost of context switching.
So what was the weapon here? Why did TikTok specifically cause this profound cognitive failure when the other platforms just didn't? To explain this, we can look at the researchers' own words. They note, this stream of video information continuously fills our mental buffer, which causes us to eliminate potentially useful information in favor of more superficial or irrelevant information. You see, the issue here isn't some simplistic argument that screens are just bad for you. As we just saw, YouTube and Twitter didn't cause this memory wipe. The real issue is how the brain handles the aggressive overwriting of its short-term storage. We can actually contrast the media formats to isolate the exact mechanism at play. When a participant watched YouTube in this study, they watched a single video for 10 minutes. That means they were deeply immersed in a single context. Twitter involves scrolling, sure, but it's primarily text-based, which engages the brain in a totally different way. TikTok, however, is a very unique beast. It forces multimodal, highly engaging audio-visual input combined with extremely rapid context switching. Every 15 to 60 seconds, you are thrust into a completely new topic, a new emotion, a new soundscape. It is this rapid switching of contexts that violently shakes the mental buffer.
The researchers actually used something called a drift diffusion model, or DDM, to measure the invisible cognitive changes happening in the brain. And the numbers are honestly startling. First up is drift rate. This measures the brain's natural tendency to accumulate evidence toward a correct response. Before TikTok, it was at a very healthy 1.46. After TikTok, it literally plummeted exactly to 0. The brain completely lost its compass for the intended action. At the exact same time, cognitive uncertainty, the variance, increased, and the non-decision time, which is essentially the brain's raw processing speed for stimuli, slowed down significantly, jumping from 461 milliseconds to 681 milliseconds. The rapid context switching fundamentally exhausted the brain's processing resources.
The scope of the damage is pretty undeniable right here. Over on the left side, you see the lexical decision task, that ongoing basic primary task of identifying words. Performance there stayed incredibly robust across all the platforms. But on the right side, the prospective memory task, the intended future action, shows a sheer cliff drop in accuracy specifically for the post-TikTok group. The basic, immediate functioning of the brain was totally fine, but the future intention was entirely deleted. The mental sticky note was simply crumpled up and thrown in the trash.
Section 5. Protecting your brain's buffer.
Okay, so what does this scientific investigation actually mean for how we work and live every day? Let's summarize what we've learned here. First, perspective memory is highly vulnerable to interruption. But crucially, not all screen time impacts your memory equally. We are not judging the platforms themselves, but rather observing that the actual format of the feed dictates the cognitive cost. Long-form video and text-based feeds did not cause significant perspective memory errors in this study. It is specifically the rapid context switching, that constant multimodal bombardment of new subjects every few seconds, that actively overwrites your mental buffer. Understanding these specific cognitive costs is absolutely essential for our own digital hygiene moving forward.
Which leaves us with a pretty critical question to ponder today. Knowing that rapid context switching acts like a giant eraser on your brain's short-term intentions, the next time you take a 10-minute work break, what are you going to put in your mental buffer? Will you protect your mental sticky notes, or will you let them get overwritten? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope this helps you understand your own brain just a little bit better.